Hi folks, Hassan here, an immigration attorney, and this is a call that we get quite often, getting a letter from an immigration court talking about your deportation or removal. And the first thing I want to say is that it's scary. Yes, absolutely, it's scary, it's nerve-wracking, but usually that's because people don't know what to expect. And what I'm going to try to do in this video is to give you a little bit of knowledge as to what this letter actually means, okay? And what it means that you can do and what it means that you can't do. And hopefully the more you know about it, the less scary the process is going to be. So most of the time when people say they get a deportation letter, what they actually mean is that they've received something called a notice to appear. An NTA. An NTA is called an accusatory document or a charging document, and it's the same thing if you think about it as a police officer who writes you a ticket for speeding. Now, that ticket is a charging document, and it means that you have to go to court and go and assert your defense. You know, if you have one, or work out a deal, or deal with it somehow. You can't just not go. And that's what an NTA is. It is a charging document, but instead of it being a criminal case, it's for, or a traffic case, it's for immigration proceedings or deportation proceedings. We actually use the term removal or removal proceedings now since 1996, instead of calling it a deportation or exclusion or something else. And in removal proceedings, it is the government coming in and saying that, hey, we think that you don't have the right to be here, that you have violated an immigration law or violated your status in some way. So we're going to begin the process that is going to result in your removal from the United States. But you also normally will get the opportunity to file for some kind of relief or to work things out with the government, because now you're in an actual proceeding where there's a judge and there's a prosecuting attorney, a government attorney, and then there's you, and hopefully you have an attorney as well. And if you have a form of relief from deportation, your attorney can tell you whether you qualify for a form of relief such as cancellation of removal or asylum or withholding of removal, adjustment of status, or even some other sort of softer forms of prosecutorial discretion that can result in your deportation proceedings or removal proceedings being paused or inactivated or even dismissed. So the first thing to remember is a deportation letter does not mean that unless you already have a removal order, unless you already have an order of removal, that's the time that ICE or Immigration Customs Enforcement, anywhere they find you or encounter you, they can take you into custody and remove you from the United States and deport you. But until that actually happens, until a judge actually orders you removed, you get to stay here and fight your case if you have one. So while it's scary, yes, and there's a lot of things about immigration court that make us nervous, even as attorneys who work in the system every day, right? It makes us nervous, it makes us frustrated. It's not easy by any stretch, but it does not mean that they're simply just gonna go to court that day and they're gonna put a pair of handcuffs on you and put you on a plane and send you back home. That's not what an NTA is. It's just the beginning of a process. What that process looks like is gonna be determined by what your options are and how well you're able to follow them and how well you're able to fight them. All right, those things are in your control. So don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like there are no options. Yes, it's a hard thing to hear about. Yes, it's nerve-wracking and it's scary, but it doesn't mean that you're out of options. So, you know, we strongly believe that due process is a fundamental right, and whatever your story is, whatever your reason for wanting to be able to stay in the United States and stay with the life that you built for yourself, even if compliance with the law has not been possible at all times, we believe that deportation is not always the answer, right? And that's not the way the law was designed. That's not what the law says. There are forms of relief that should be applied for. There are other ways to negotiate with the government attorneys as well in certain deserving cases. So it's important to know what your options are. Yes, you're going to want it to be over with, and yes, it's scary, but it's not the end of the road. And that's the thing that I want you to take away from this. Thanks so much for tuning in.